Hi, Sharon Price, John. I really appreciate this time with you. I wanted to present an idea to you that I presented at one time to Maxine Clark. It's an idea for corporate social responsibility and cause marketing, and really a whole new profit center for Build-A-Bear Workshop. And at the time, this meeting was originally with Maxine Clark in June of 2011. She had a really enthusiastic and positive response to this presentation, and even talked about setting us up with next step people in the company. And within the next week or so, the company was sold and everything kind of went by the wayside. So I've never really quite forgotten this idea, and I don't know how much Emily told you, but I wanted to bring this back around again. I still think it's a great idea. I think the need for it is greater than ever, and possibly the receptivity is more present than ever. So I'm happy to present this information to you again 9 years after the first time. So why an idea for Build-A-Bear? The most important reasons are that our existing human systems aren't working. We've been doing this win-lose, power over power under dynamic for centuries, and people are realizing we need change, but they aren't really sure what. So we assert that it's possible and important and crucial, really, to get influential visionary leaders like Build-A-Bear to help make the changes that are crucial right now into a reality. And it's partly because people are actually hungry for systemic change. It's showing up at this time through all the racial unrest and through the misuse of force, in particular right now through the police systems, but it's really a bigger misuse of power that is underlying all abuses of power, all causes for separation. So the problem was people recognize when real traumatic events occur that something needs to change, but they don't really know what kind of system should we switch over to, how would we implement one, and how would we do it consistently and on a scalable basis. So they need people that are systemic thinkers. And just so you know, there are only 8% of the population that thinks in terms of innovative, long-range, broad, sweeping systems change. And out of that 8%, an even smaller amount focus on human system and human system change. So I happen to be one of those people, and that's why I'm bringing this idea to you. At Lifework Systems, we believe that the best systemic changes begin within homes and schools. A lot of behavior in adulthood that appears to be that competitive win-lose scarcity mindset, power struggle mindset starts in the way that we do our systems in our homes and schools. So for that alone, I'm grateful to be sharing this innovative idea with you. So I want to just give you a quick background on who I am, who my company is. Lifework Systems has been around since 2002, so we're in our 18th year, and I've been doing this work full-time since 1998, and I've been doing it part-time since the late 80s. So my background is in Adlerian psychology and in organizational development and performance management in all kinds of industries. What I want you to know the most about me is that my purpose is to create a world in which all people love their lives. And when I say create a world, I mean create the conditions and conversations in which all people love their lives. I provide systems and the tools that go within those systems for widespread distribution and development of leadership, not just in adults, but also in children, not just in people with leadership titles, but in organizations we've worked in. It goes all the way from CEO to frontline staff. In schools, it goes all the way from school administrators all the way down to the students and including the parents. We're also helping to develop the engagement of people in their lives, in their work, at all ages. We're helping develop emotional intelligence, create effective communication, build upon internal or intrinsic motivation, help people to be accountable and personally responsible, socially intelligent about what kind of consequences they're causing one another, which is often sorely lacking. And the outcome that we bring is caring behavior and teamwork that comes at an extraordinary level when you really introduce a healthy system for people to function within. So our vision is to further collaborate with key visionary and influential leaders and change agents, not only nationally, but worldwide. And we know that you're already one of those visionary and influential leaders worldwide. The first thing that I wanted to introduce to Maxine and to you is, do we have evidence that people love their lives? So what I did was I took data from the Gallup poll, which is still the same data that they're putting forward today. So not a lot has changed over the last 9 years between my first meeting with Maxine and what's happening today. Pretty consistently, these disengagement and engagement numbers are the same. The numbers are that 16% of Americans are actively disengaged. And what they mean by that is these are the people that go to their jobs and they're either drunk or stoned or late all the time, or they're grossly underproducing, they're stressed out a lot. They're often causing a lot of disruption and negativity, spreading rumors and gossip, focusing on using force and coercion and power over dynamics or power under dynamics. They're also all about, some of these kind of autocratic ways of functioning in the world. And what has happened is that the Gallup organization said that on average, people that go into this really kind of failing way of being disengaged are on average costing an organization $16,000 per year per person. So out of 100 people, those 16 people cost an organization about $256,000. That's if it's typical. If it's not, worse than typical. With kids, the way this shows up are kids that are being kicked out of preschool, kids that join gangs, drop out of school, use alcohol, get involved in violent behaviors, bullying, often kids that are just really misbehaving in a pretty significant way. These are the kids that are going to the principal's office. These are the kids that are really getting into trouble. And they are turning into those adults who are not contributing to the community. This second group is pretty discouraging to see just based on the sheer volume of this group. It was found that on average, more than half of the American workforce, 55%, are what's called disengaged. They're often called 9-to-5ers because these are people who show up to work, but they kind of have this attitude, if it's not in my job description, don't even think of asking me for it because I'm not going to go that extra mile. I'm only here to do what I have to do to get my paycheck. And I call them the C- workers because they do enough work to have a passing grade, but they're going to kind of do the bare minimum to, being able to be paid. So you'll often find them shooting the breeze, on texting or emailing, searching the internet for things that aren't work related. They come across and they feel sort of apathetic and bored and slow moving. And what Gallup found on this group is that they don't really cost you anything, but they also don't gain you anything. Now, I don't know that I agree with that. I believe if you have people working at C- or mediocrity, that's costing you referrals, it's costing you energy, innovation, happy employees, happy customers. Somehow it's costing, even though it's not egregious costs associated with this. With kids, these are the ones who are easily bored and overuse technology. They're often distracting other kids that are trying to learn when they're in school. These are the kids that don't really care for their things well. They're sort of disengaged about taking responsibility for things. In fact, a lot of times they'll bring home a report card where the parents know they were more capable of this than the C's and D's that they're bringing home, that they're just kind of disappointed with the lack of effort to really go further. So this is kind of the happy group. It was found that 29% of Americans are fully engaged. And these are the people who are good team players. These are the people that are coming up with innovative ideas. These are the people who take good care of themselves. They look engaged, they act engaged. They bring kind of a positive energy to the organization or the group. You might even be thinking of people in all of these categories as I'm describing these. These are also people who take reasonable risks and they're willing to try things and they're more innovative thinkers and they're convicted about things and they're passionate about things. And what Gallup found is that on average, these people will bring a company about $32,000 per year per person. So if you have 100 people in your company and 29 of them are this way, that adds up to about $950,000 per year. So you're really putting that at risk if you're not really taking care of your environment so that it's an engaging environment, because these folks know their value and worth, and they're more likely to leave your organization if it's not appealing to them because of the disengagement that they're witnessing around them. With the kids, these are the kids who are prepared when they go to school. They've got their homework done, they're well prepared, and they arrive at school on time, or they are well prepared when they go to do a job after school. They're on time, they're hardworking. These are the kids who get along with most adults, including their parents, most of the time at least. These are the kids who are really excited to learn, and they get along with their classmates, they get along with their teacher, they're really putting forth their full effort. And these are kids who are often pitching in at home, helping out with chores. They're really part of the solution to things as opposed to part of the problem. So this is a quick video clip of a parent that was part of a big school reform project. We actually had two big school reform projects. They were multi-year, multi-school, and one of them we actually won an award for because we helped more at-risk high school students stay in school and graduate in the city schools of St. Louis. So these projects were unique in that we involved all the stakeholders in the lives of a child. We involved parents, teachers, school administrators, the community neighborhood group, and the students themselves, which is a really unusual approach. So by the end of this approach, everyone had a common set of tools, a common set of concepts, a common way to communicate and to help one another. And it was really, really powerful. And that's kind of how we function. When we work in corporate settings, we do the same. We work with all the people in the organization, from CEO to frontline staff, and often even bring in groups that are directly connected to the organization, like vendors or customers in some cases. So this is a fully engaged parent.
I will tell you, man, this program is an incredible, unbelievable, awesome tool. I mean, it has like made some unbelievable changes in my home.
Yes.
All of like my relationships and my job and everything. And I just totally support this. I mean, I can see the changes in my kids. I can see the changes in my relationship with my wife, with my coworkers, and it just been blowing me away. But it's a totally whole new way of thinking, and it's just awesome, man. And I love it.
So that was one parent, and just so you know, we would go into the homes of these students and we'd work with them in their family meetings, and we'd sit in on the classroom meetings, and we really got to see these kids know how to use the tools that they were taught and have conversations in kind of a shorthand way with their parents and their teachers and their co-students and everything. It was really an amazing experience. This is one of the teachers that was part of this set of projects.
I've definitely seen a major improvement in my classroom. I was skeptical at first, I have to say, but it really does work, and the kids have come together. I've seen discipline improve. I've seen teamwork kind of gel better. They work much better together now. They're quick to help each other out. I think I was expecting maybe it to just be a very subtle thing where I wasn't going to notice, but I have definitely noticed, and other teachers who are using the program in our building say they've noticed also. Definitely more than I was expecting. But like I said, I was a skeptic, but now I'm sold on this program. It is wonderful.
So this next video is a principal who I'll never forget. He was so upset with me for asking him to drop a certain practice in his school that he literally yelled at me down the hall. And then eventually he did come around and really see the truth in what I was saying and actually came to value it. And it's reflected in his little video clip here.
This program has taught me that I don't know as much as I thought I knew. I've been around for 31 years, and it would seem that you've seen everything and heard everything, but there's some things that I don't know, even with all that experience.
So he really did open and take responsibility and ownership for doing things very differently after all that time. This one is actually a compilation of some of the kids that were involved in our projects.
I like to talk, try to solve the problems, try to help the people out.
We get to speak about our problems and our feelings that we having in the classroom. And because we used to call people names all the time, but we don't no more because we see it hurt people's feelings. And we get to show the teacher how she is, and she show us how we are.
We don't fight as much anymore because we let it out during our discussions, and also we have the same opinions, so we kind of talk a little bit more about our opinions.
Because people used to call me names all the time, and now that we've been having these meetings, they stop calling me names.
I really do believe if we had this type of programming in schools and in families, we wouldn't create people who become brutal and misuse their power and domination. I do regular conferences around the country, and one of the conferences I regularly speak on is called the Forum on Workplace Inclusion. It's the largest international conference in the world. In fact, I just did it for the second time in March, came back on March 12th, so right before the big lockdown happened. And there was a person there that said, I have seen over 30 years of this conference, all the different talks on all the different forms of isms, all the racism, ageism, sexism, all the different types. And she said, I've never seen anybody who talked about creating a community outcome that strikes at the root of what causes all separation. And it was really refreshing. So I asked her if we could put that on our website, and we did. So I just want you to know that I really believe in that the problems we're experiencing in our world today would begin to be lessened by having some of these tools and practices from as early of an age as possible. So back in 2011, this was some of what we found on your annual report. I hope some of it's still relevant, but at that time, your primary growth objective was to increase shareholder value by profitably growing sales. And I know that was really important because your HR director, who is my good friend, said you guys were really impacted by the recession and still trying to kind of recover from that. So some of your strategies were around product innovation, creating monthly themed stories, having an integrated approach to parents and kids, mass use of social media to grow an active following, and creating collectible products with tie-ins to your website. Some other things on your annual report included expansion of leadership in the toy business, using externally sourced non-proprietary products, which was actually a beautiful thing for us to see because it was kind of the door to, first of all, expand your leadership, your presence, your change agent role in the toy business, but also partnering with other organizations to expand that. And then it was also the use of digital initiatives. We're all about digital initiatives. We have everything we've ever built is now put on a digital platform, which people are scrambling to do right now with the pandemic, but we've had that built for the last 6 years. You wanted to be able to strengthen your online promotions and your online offerings. You wanted to increase your e-commerce sales, your engagement in your Build-A-Bear Workshop virtual world, and create new revenue streams outside of your current store base. The first strategy that we introduced to Maxine was in response to the product innovation, only we would expand it to include collections for parents, teachers, community, and organizational leaders, and also teens and young children. So the response would be provide innovative Build-A-Bear Workshop products that would include themed e-learning modules, and I'll show you an example of that coming up. Leader-led tools. In other words, in our organization, let's say a group of parents, for example, takes an e-learning program called Redirecting Very Bad Behavior, and then they want to work together as a team and take turns leading a facilitated group discussion on that using an online e-learning module. That's available. That's something we do all the time, where there's initial learning through individuals, that then take it the next step and discuss it and practice it and apply it in leader-led or people-led tools. And then workshops, having live workshops, automated workshops, virtual summits, that sort of thing. And then integrating online communities that push technology for the engagement and connection to Build-A-Bear Workshop as a resource for the community. I know I was the kind of parent with 5 kids who was constantly teaching parent training and participating in parent training. I would have loved it at the time that I was doing all that to have my educators in my neighborhood learning right beside me, other parents learning right beside me, and have had a resource. I would have been highly involved with Build-A-Bear Workshop as that kind of parent. With 5 kids, we would go and have birthday celebrations at Build-A-Bear, but that was usually once per child. And then when we were invited to some of the Build-A-Bear parties, but it wasn't the kind of integrated sense of community for me that it would have been had you had some of these initiatives. So our response to your need is to help consistently schedule innovative, themed, parallel programs that drive development of new products and collections at the same time that these actual services are part of your revenue sharing, profit building services. So we did a little mock-up of how would this look if you created a website, because at the time, I don't know if you still have it, but at the time, your website was exclusively for the children. It was sort of a Build-A-Bear world, if I remember correctly. I don't know if that's what you have still to this day, but there was no website directed toward parents. So we would help you use mass social media and the use of your website to grow an active following. So this would include to be marketing your products and services, engaging the community through those mechanisms, helping them get involved with e-learning, which is becoming very commonplace now, helping people to have greater consumer intelligence about what's out there, what's possible for their families in schools, lots of things that people aren't aware of that are kind of going on in the world. That's a world that's changing, that's involving lots of new trends that even the families of today need to know about for tomorrow. And to help promote your new products, new ideas and new products, and to build a sense of stronger community and stronger social responsibility with that community. And this is just an example of one of our classes called Redirecting Negative Behavior that we just put into this little clip for you. So you kind of get the idea of that. That was actually a program, a version of the program for students, where they were looking at, gosh, if I'm in rebellion and resistance, am I taking responsibility that I'm creating that in my thoughts and in my behavior? And what am I taking responsibility for, and what am I resisting responsibility for? So again, these are just some of the pieces, the components that we would have on the website, but the goal would be to have an integrated approach that would engage parents, educators, and children, and sometimes simultaneously, and definitely with a consistency in messaging, concepts, tools, and solutions, that sort of thing. So our response would be a comprehensive support on focused message that engages everyone, including Ask the Experts, specialized blogs, newsletters, affiliate programs, lunch and learns. And that way, Build-A-Bear Workshop becomes a resource where adults and children converge often. The third strategy we had was in response to your collectible products with tie-ins to the website. So our response would be help to deepen attachment to core products and design a line of new theme-related products that are related to things like improving relationships, fostering character, leadership, and values, strengthening social and emotional intelligence, promoting wellness in a healthy society. In this way, Build-A-Bear Workshop would be providing web-related products to extend and sustain adult and children connections, service, and engagement. Here's an example. We use a temperament model that could be used with young children. And what it is you go through a 5-minute little survey and you kind of get to find out what your core priority values are. And then what we would do is we would help educate the family on what these different colors mean, and maybe even have bears that are associated with these various color types. So this is just one example. These each represent various values that are of the highest priority to any adult or child. We just think there's lots of ways in classroom meetings and family meetings. There's a stuffed animal that is passed around as the talking implement. That could be a Build-A-Bear product. There's lots of ways we could integrate Build-A-Bear products with these new focuses. Here's another part of strategy 3, expansion of leadership in the toy business, using externally sourced non-proprietary products. So our response would be a new marketplace of entry points, and that would be something that you might call Build a Healthy Family and Build a Healthy School. And these would be focusing on these kinds of topics that are very much needed in today's world. And we need unconventional models that stretch beyond compliance in children, compliance in adults, to real commitments and real caring, things that we're often missing in today's world. A website where the website itself is a hub for the adults and the children to talk about and use. Bear University programs where people would go through training, and then they would have group sessions, and then they would have somebody that would help mentor them. It could be product showcase that would go over all the different types of things that are available to, all of the consumers that you're targeting. There would be solution boards where people might ask questions about, hey, I'm having this problem and with the school district, or I'm having this problem with my child, and then provide those solutions, and lots of people would benefit. You could have chat lines, you could have leader-led programs. And basically, Build-A-Bear Workshop chat is the default alternative to Facebook. So instead of people going to Facebook to work on issues of parenting and education and how do I have a healthier family or a healthier school, your organizational website would be their default. The fourth strategy that you all had mentioned is innovative digital initiatives for online promotions and offers, for e-commerce sales, for a virtual world that you put forward. And our response would be create affordable parallel services on phone. So right now we have a lot of our redirecting negative behavior, which we renamed. We have a phone app that goes with it. That is a reference tool. We have a phone app for our communicating to build trust and teamwork programs. So you want people to have access to training on their phones, access to reference tools on their phones, on their social media, have constant support and productive conversations between themselves and also with people that have expertise, and on computers and email and blogging and electronic notebooks and pads. So really, innovative Build-A-Bear Workshop digital initiatives will strengthen your brand and your sales and bring you more directly into the virtual and digital world that's so predominant. The fifth strategy are new revenue streams outside of your current store base. So our response would be opening new channels into working directly with schools, with colleges, with universities, in the schools where the teachers are being taught, working with consultants and coaches who want to be working with anything related to education and family, or even personal development, healthcare facilities that know that stress and that emotional intelligence are directly connected with one another, and how important it is to have a healthy body, a healthy mind, and a healthy sense of community. Government is interested in how do we revamp our systems around even police brutality, or how do we help our leadership in government to do a better job. One of our instructors is a former mayor, and she says, gosh, if I was still the mayor, I would be bringing you in for all of this systemic change, and I believe every mayor in the country should have this training. So there will be people that are going to have a response to what you would be doing that are going to have pretty far-reaching. Right now we have a partner who's interested in bringing us in at a state level to school districts in one of the states of this country at that level, because he has connections to all of those significant stakeholders. It's also something that's becoming very important to entertainment and to lots of different associations out there right now that are really committed to making this a better world. A lot of professional organizations, a lot of churches and nonprofits. I could see them being involved with Build-A-Bear Workshop in order to, further their corporate social responsibilities. Churches, because everything that we're teaching is all about purpose and value-based. Corporations, foundations. We had some of our largest school reform projects that were funded through foundations that wanted to impact in the school districts, for example, the graduation rate. So we actually won an award for our work with helping more kids in city schools and at risk to stay in school and graduate. We would also respond by expanding your existing market segments to include more males, more adults, more direct service to adults as opposed to adults buying for their children, but also buying for themselves, and to include helping people understand from a social intelligence perspective the differences between people and how to manage your communication, your leadership, your responses, and what's valued by different temperaments. And then what will happen is people won't be able to stop talking about Build-A-Bear Workshop because it will be, creating a much greater level of solutions for people's problems. And that's all. I just am really grateful that I have the opportunity to bring this back around to share with you today, and I appreciate your time and attention for this.